Welcome everybody to Reavercast, a podcast by two Age of Sigmar players excited to have an Age of Sigmar podcast. I'm your host David Ratledge, and with me as always is my co-host Chris Tobin.
Good morning. We're coming to you from the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina, and we are representing the Carolina Reavers, a local sports team focused on fun and community. And today, I hope you guys are all feeling a little hungry because we have a spicy topic, and we have a even spicier guest, the two-time returning Bram. How's it going, Bram?
It's going well. Thanks for having me back, guys. Excited to talk some ogres.
Ogre, how are you?
How you doing?
Good.
We've already talked a whole ton of ogres, and now we're gonna release this yapping for the people.
It's what they demand, I assume,
That's right.
because I have yet to hear nothing from anybody. However, I can only assume that people are demanding every guest we have with a name that sounds like Am, and they would love to know about ogres, and therefore that's what they're getting. But before we get to the main course, is this going to be just eating puns the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get to the main course, Chris and Bram, what have you been working on this week? What have you been doing?
I mean, in the last 48 hours, I'm pretty sure we have the same exact response to that question. The same answer of, we're building ogres.
Yeah, I'm totally with Tobin on that. It has been just I got my box today. I didn't get it on the day of release, but I've just been sat in my chair all day, just building ogres.
Yes, sir.
They are a treat. I think these guys aura farm harder than any other models I've seen in Age of Sigmar. Like even your regular Iron Gut dudes are just like aura farming, and they are awesome. I love them.
So those 2 decades of waiting for new models finally paid off in a big way.
It's marinating. They were marinating the models.
There you go.
Now they are just cooked perfectly and ready to be served. I think Bram and I are going to be serving them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah, you guys, is your plan for both of you to bring them to the RTT that we have in 2 weeks or so?
I think so. I at least the Regiment of Renown, at a minimum. I might be doing my dumb cities ogres list that I've been playing with. But if not, probably just ogres. I don't wanna like fast do my army too fast with ogres. So I want to make sure I'm pacing myself and doing it right and giving it justice. But like when I go play it, I hate playing with gray models, and so it's like I like to have them all painted, but I don't want to rush it to get them done in 2 weeks. So we'll see what ends up happening. But it'll be cities or ogres, and with a flavor of ogre probably in either case.
Yeah, I stand by my statement that I think you should give the ogres a city's flair. Give them some cities banners or something to carry around, just to give them a little hint if you include them.
I like it.
Oh, for me, though, I certainly will be bringing the ogres to the RTT. I was like, wait. Yes. I've been doing a little bit of testing. Had some great games so far. Some very short games. Only one of them going all the way to round 5. And that was actually against our previous guest, Graham, and his Stinky Elves.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised how well the army did. They pulled me to victory. No matter how many stupid choices I made, they could not be stopped. They were hungry. They needed a new set of toothpicks.
Was this against his all shooting all the time list?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
He bring that ballista?
Yes, he did.
Excellent.
Red dealt with the ballista himself.
Are you a red truthsayer now, Tobin?
I am. I tried to give Kragnos his fair shake, and that was cute. It went okay. But just seeing all of the utility that red brings to the army and how much it unlocks for the versatility of play style and whether or not you go first, you are set. It's really sweet. It's awesome. For those listening, Bram and I had a ogre v ogre off. He brought a list with red, I brought a list with Kragnos, and we smashed in the middle.
Go on.
It was great. It was great. But yeah, just seeing all of that utility, giving out the wards constantly, buffing up the cleavers, it's just too good. It's too good. But we'll save a little bit of that for later.
Well, I was going to say that actually might be a decent segue into talking about some of their mechanics and rules.
Oh yeah.
What is the new hotness? Like, what makes red so good? What's the new ogre hotness?
Bram, I'll pass red to you since you kind of converted me. I was originally trying to go with a bunch of butchers and also just Kragnos, but Bram showed me the way and he's converted me to red. The scroll, not the model, to be clear.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. The scroll, not the model. Yeah, I think it's helpful to give a little bit of background on like the ogres overall battle trait and then their potential battle formations, because I think that really keys into why I think red is good. So the new ogres rules essentially have this rule called eat 'em alive. It's the end of any turn, and if they are fighting with a unit, which does not include manifestations or faction terrain, even though they'll only say faction terrain, it does not include manifestations, which is a little counterintuitive. If you fight with a unit, then you can use that ability at the end of every turn. Now, that does not mean that you can do mortals to the same unit. You can't do mortals to the same unit, but you can use the ability to get the buffs. So just a point of clarification there. You can, if you're in combat with a bunch of different enemy units, then you can do mortals to all those units, but otherwise can't target the same unit for the mortals. But you still get the buffs, and the buffs are incredible. So the buffs are run and charge, ignoring rend for all attacks, including shooting, -1 to wards for those weapons attacks, crit 2 hits, which is essentially +1 to hit. And then there's like a power level one that I don't know if you're ever using that, but maybe. And then the control characteristic one, not the control score, control characteristic, very strong and can just make sure you're winning on primary, and you get to calculate it at the end of the turn. So it's the last thing you do before you calculate who owns an objective. So it's very useful in that way. So it's a very, very strong battle trait. Yeah.
One more just quick point there. If a unit already has crit 2 hits and you choose the crunchy bones, they instead have crit mortals.
Yeah, and there does need to be an FAQ on that, because the way you would read that is essentially because the abilities apply for the rest of the battle. You would think that if you pick it again, that you would have crit 2 hits because it applied for the rest of the battle, and you pick the next one, and then it over applies because you had crit 2 hits. Now it's crit mortals. It's not super clear because it also says replace. So if you had the rest of the battle keyword, but then it said replace the crit 2 hits, but you picked it again, it would be replacing it with crit 2 hits. So it's not super clear. The general read on it is you pick it twice, you get crit mortals the second time, but until GW FAQs it, I think it's a little confusing.
Oh, I didn't even take it that way. I was just looking at something like the cleavers where you can give them crit 2 hits, and then with eat 'em alive, you could then give them the crit mortals. I didn't realize that was what people were thinking. I didn't think you could just stack the same thing twice because of, like you said, with the replacement, I figured, okay, you remove it and then you just reapply the crit 2 hits again.
Yeah. So it replaces, and it's the only one that it really affects because it's the only one that has the second part if it exists, like hits an existing condition. So it's a weird wording because the effect applies for the rest of the battle until you use the next ability. So at the time of using the ability, you would have crit 2 hits, but then you replace it. So it's like, does it check before you replace it? I don't know. It's a little weird wording, but I think jury's out on that one until we get an FAQ. But overall, the battle trait's really strong. And that's the main one, but there's another one that's also really good, and that's the Beast Claw hero deep strike one, which is really helpful for ogres because I would say the army is fairly slow across the board. So having some deep strike is helpful.
And you've been deep striking. You've been bringing is it the blood pelt hunters that can
Yes,
deep
sir.
strike? And so you've been solving a little bit of your problem by doing that.
Yeah, Blood Pelt Hunter and like the hunters with the saber fangs. Blood Pelt Hunter is a Beast Claw hero, so he can do it. You could do the Blood Pelt Hunter Deep Strike deploy thing. It's like the deploy teleport. You could do that too if you didn't want to bring that. Your mod pack also super helpful for deep strikes and just starting your tactics, which I know we'll talk about like lists and like what I think Ogre does well with from a tactics perspective. But I think the battle trait opens up the play style and tells you very clearly kind of what ogres want to be doing. And then obviously the battle formations help a lot with that as well. I think there's really two good ones. I think they're all fine. They're all playable. But I think the two best ones are the eat 'em at the end of the turn, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Let me find it. It's the
All Cult Fanatics.
Yes, so the Maw Cult Fanatics I think is the best one. That's if you've used the Eat 'em Alive ability this game, which
You're going to.
you can do with red. Spoiler. You heal at the end of every turn. D3, which is really, really good on your ogres that are 4 wounds apiece or your monsters that are, a little heavier. So that's great. The Hungerfield Tribe is really interesting. For each enemy unit that was destroyed this turn, you can use an Ogor Mawtribes unit not in combat and has not used power through. They move up to 3 and can end that move in combat, so they get a little mighty. You can do that for each enemy unit that was destroyed this turn. So it's pretty cool, and it doesn't have a visibility or range, so it's anywhere on the board. You can just move someone up 3, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really good.
So that's solid. And then the Vanguard of the Maw Path, that's the one where if you roll the high charge, you can move up to 3 with your combat ranges. It's like essentially an extra pylon. And I know Tobin tried that one in our game. My general take on it is if you already rolled an 8-inch charge, you're probably where you need to be already before the extra pylon. So it's like fine. It's like a nice to have, but I think the other ones are a little more impactful.
I was gonna say with that game, I saw the power of the Mall Cult Fanatics and the D3 healing every turn because at that point you were just out sustaining me. And my thought was, okay, I'll bring Kragnos, I'll roll 3d6 on the charges, and that'll it'll improve my chance much more of rolling that 8-inch unmodified charge. And I'm like, oh, the synergy. And well, some things are just better, like healing every turn.
Yeah, and then the Hinterland Hunters is just not a good one. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target Maw Tribe units while they're wholly within 9 of battlefield edge and have not charged. You want to be charging. You don't care about -1 to hit. You're getting in there and getting in their face. So yeah, I'd say out of those two, the Hungerfield Tribe and the Maw Cult Fanatics kind of feel the best. And that's kind of like the general ogre rules. And then that's important context for why I think red is really good.
You totally skipped over Bull Charge, which is
Oh yeah, Bull Charge. You're right. I totally skipped Bull Charge. To be fair, I don't use Bull Charge often.
right.
I feel like a lot of the time it is giving your opponent an out to do some tricksy maneuvering, like block something. Most of the time it feels like because they get a free 3-inch move, they can if you're playing a high level opponent, they can probably find a way to make that worse for you in some way.
Yeah. When you used it on me, I felt more than happy to chance a few mortals for getting much better positioning and like moving my whole unit over 3 inches to open an alley for me to do something.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, yeah,
counter charge or something.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'll move these dudes out of the way, and now you have a bigger problem.
Yeah. So I haven't loved the Bull Charge ability. Oftentimes I find myself choosing not to use it because I feel like it's not that helpful. Like it is helpful in the sense like if someone is trying to screen you out of an objective, that is helpful because then you're either getting the big mortal hit or or you get to move and then you get to pile onto the objective, which is great. But I think other than that, most of the time I find myself not wanting to use the ability. So red, the Maw is the new Ogres like one of the new Ogre centerpiece models. It's on a fat base, it's 160 mil, so it's the same as like Karazai. It's a big old base. The model, as mentioned earlier, in my opinion, is ugly. I don't like the new model. It just seems compositionally like they just like threw like two rated dudes next to a pot. So don't like the new model. We'll definitely be doing a conversion. I'm sure Tobin's in the same boat. But the rules are incredible on that thing. It's a wizard 2, which is great. I think it's the only wizard 2 in the army. 400 points is expensive. It's reinforced gluttons, but it's actually pretty well priced for what I think Red is bringing to your list. I mean, I think he's 18 wounds on a 4-up, 5-up. You can make him have -1 rend if he gets into any combat, so he becomes very tanky. He gives, and really the main reason I bring him is for his ability to spend a CP, and you give a unit, an ogre unit, the Eat 'em Alive. They get to use the Eat 'em Alive ability in your hero phase. And so it just opens up. First of all, you're now going to be healing every turn with that unit. It opens up so many different ways to be flexible with your really strong buffs. If you were in a control buff, but you don't actually need it now, you can flip to run and charge and then go and go get something turn 1. And it just opens up the threat range of ogres, which is typically been a weakness I find with ogres, is like you don't have without the run and charge anymore that you used to get. It's a harder way to deliver your damage because there's no shooting really. Like the Iron Blaster and Scrap Launcher are fine, but it's not the soggy Iron Blaster anymore. So your threat range from shooting is worse, and you need to kind of get up in your opponent's face. And so red just unlocks that run and charge for you, which is really great because your guys are moving 6, you're auto running 6, so you have a base move 12. Then he also has this spell that lets you move D3 plus 3 as long as it's to the closest visible enemy unit. So you do that as well, and suddenly, on average, say you're adding another 4 or 5 inches to that move, and you get a 16, 17-inch move with a big block of gluttons who are, a crazy amount of wounds getting in your opponent's face with a bunch of attacks and damage too. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of red, just opening up your play style. I would also say he gives a guaranteed ward, Holy 12, which is really nice. So like the gluttons just having a 6-up, and then if you bring any of the Maw Seeker units, they'll have that 5-up, which is really nice on if you're bringing your cleavers as an example. I've been experimenting with those. They are expensive, but their damage output is gnarly. And if they're on their 5-up, it helps them stay alive a little better. And yeah, they can smack really hard. So the ward is super helpful when you're so wounds dense. Yeah, and then he himself is also like, kind of a beat stick. He can whiff pretty hard, but when he doesn't, he smacks pretty good. So yeah, I really like him as a model. I think he just opens up a lot of what you want to be doing in ogres.
Yeah, 2 quick things though. I think you mentioned it, but his ability to give a unit Eat 'em Alive cost a CP. It can only be used in your hero phase, so you can't do it in your opponent's hero phase.
Yep.
And a little specific distinction here is non-hero ogre model. So he cannot do it to himself. He can't do it to a butcher or a tyrant or
Correct.
any other kind of heroes. But a unit wholly within 12, starting off. And one thing that I really liked that I had learned in our game was the order of operations. Because you kind of flubbed on that one little first turn there.
Yeah.
You spent the CP and gave the unit run and charge, then you used the spell to move them, and you failed casting it, even with the +1. And
Yeah.
I learned just from being part of that maybe cast the spell first, make sure that goes off. Because it's not guaranteed, even with that +1.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, and again, the spell cast on a 7.
Yeah.
But there is a neat little ability with his War Scroll spell to where if the target's in combat, it inflicts D3 mortals on the enemy unit and heals your unit D3. So
unless it's Maw Secrets, then it's just flat 3 on both of them.
then it's just flat 3 damage and flat 3 heal. So you're already pumping a bunch of damage, but I like noticing these things for, okay, that's some decent hero phase damage that you could dish out. Just thinking what other tactics can we possibly play aside from just vengeance and siege, and this opens it up a little bit. Same with the bull charge. That's why I wanted to mention the bull charge earlier, was that's some charge phase mortals that you could start putting out into things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know we're leaning into tactics a little there with the blazing one where you want to do damage across multiple phases. And interestingly too, if you do the eat 'em alive, you can do the mortals
Yep.
from the eat 'em alive ability if you were in combat at the time that you chose it. So could be
Yep.
a CP do D3 mortals, not behind a spellcast, so it makes it a little more reliable as well. So yeah, really, really fun.
But yeah, like you said, love the War Scroll. Not super hot on the model, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with for your kit bash.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be fun. I think I'm gonna do I think I'd mentioned this to you all, but I'm gonna do like a Karazai as like
Hmm.
Red the Mod, and he's like a dragon, and then like have like a tyrant riding the dragon or something. Kind of like a Mega Boss on Maw-Crusher, but with Karazai instead. I think that'll be cool.
And
Yeah.
mine is
Yeah, that'll look super
mine
cool.
is a Gargant carrying a pot, and I'm gonna do like some sort of scaffolding with, again, just a tyrant up top there or something like that. Maybe I'll find a 3D print, but Gargant with a pot on top, and oh, he's gonna be tall.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Love it.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be a really cool addition to the army. New rules, new cool model, just really kind of refresh what's going on with it.
Absolutely.
Just to stick with heroes, I think I mentioned it before, but I'm a fan of the Butcher. I really like the Butcher. He's a neat little War Scroll 170 for a Wizard 1 infantry hero with a 6-up ward. He's a Maw Seeker, so that keyword matters for some abilities, but he has 8 health, 5-up, 6-up, move 6, control 3. So okay, it's an okay little foot hero, little foot dork.
Dork thinks he's gonna drown. Yeah.
He's got a neat ability that I think I tried too hard to make it work with. Once per battle, end of any turn, if you dealt damage with the Butcher or a manifestation that was summoned by it, and the enemy that took that damage was destroyed, you get to add 1 power level for the rest of the battle, and it's cumulative. And I thought that was just neat, a neat way. Like you mentioned, Red is the only just on the War Scroll has Wizard 2, power level 2 Wizard. But the Butcher has a way of getting up there. We don't have the model yet, but phenomenal model, super cool looking. Very excited to get my hands on it. But then, aside from that, in the movement phase, once per turn, so any movement phase, you could pick a visible Mawtribes unit wholly within 12 of it. You roll a dice, which is a bit of a bummer. I don't like to rely on dice too much, but on a 3-up, the target has a 6-up ward until the start of your next turn. And then if you picked a Maw Seekers, they get a 5-up ward until the start of your next turn. And being able to do that multiple times, just in your hero phase, in your enemy hero phase, getting stuff with wards, they have it. They could then move out of that aura, so you don't have to keep them hugging close to the Butcher. But just a neat little piece of tech that I really like. And again, it's just 170 points for this guy. And it's a non-named, non-unique hero, so you could put the artifacts and heroic traits on. And I kind of like him better than the Tyrant, even though the Tyrant's 20 less. The Tyrant has a neat little ability of the fights next +1 to hit, but I like the foot dork wizard that you could park on a place of power and start farming those fury levels.
Yeah, yeah. I think I totally see your point on that, Tobin. I think I'm personally less up on the Butcher, but that's primarily because I'm so up on Red that it's like I don't see the need for the Butcher in addition when you can pay 230 more points and just get more tech, more value, better wizard that's already built in level 2. But totally to your point, also to the artifacts, I do think that, and I know we haven't touched on this yet, but the artifacts and heroic traits of ogres are not quite as good as they used to be. Like the priest, losing the priest artifact or heroic trait was a bummer because the prayer lore is good, but now it's kind of stuck behind the beast claw side of the book, which is mid at best and expensive. So you don't really want to bring that. And then but the spell lore is really good. So having any sort of wizard in your list is really good with the unlimited spell for +1 to hit, which is super, super nice. And then the other one, like the hide from shooting,
Taloflage.
Yeah. So there's some really good spells in the Mawtribes lore, so having wizards is helpful. I did want to touch on the Tyrant. I think the Tyrant is actually quite good. 150 points is on the cheaper side for Ogres. He's got decent fighting combat profile, but really the main thing I like him for is his tech for the denying monstrous rampages, which is really strong, especially with all the monsters that are in the meta currently, being in this season where you get Fury dice and monsters benefit the most from that. Him being able to turn off rampages is really good, as well as being able to then also bring things like Key to the Larder, which allows you to ignore negative modifiers to hit and wound and all those things for a unit wholly within 12. So it's nice to like keep him with the combat piece that you want to send it in, because oftentimes if you put it on like something like the Blood Belt Hunter that's out on the side of the board, it's not doing much for you. So I think the Tyrant lets you bring those things to bear a little easier. I would argue that the Tyrant on Gluthorn probably takes the traits the best out of our options for non-unique heroes, but
Yeah.
Tyrant is an option if you're tight on points and want to have something to keep behind to score Siege of Ash or get into table quarter that you're just running off to the side to go tap a place of power if you need to. But I think there's play with them there just because everything in Ogres is so expensive.
Yeah, how many models are in y'all's lists talking about how expensive the army is right now?
It's super elite. I mean, most of your infantry stuff is going to be 400 plus for reinforced block, which will be like Gluttons would be the most, which would be 10 models for 400 points. I would say the lists that I have been writing have been, or I guess the Hunters have technically 5 models as well, right? Because they got the 2 and the 3 shooter boys. So you could have them up to 10. And I'd say the Hunters and the Gluttons are like your meat and potatoes of the Ogres army. They're kind of the thing you want to be building around. Everything else is kind of more of a flavor pick. But yeah, I think the overall like unit count is like probably 5 units, maybe 6 if you can squeeze it.
Yeah.
You're not going much more than that.
Yeah, looking around like maybe 30, 35 at max models on the board. It's wild. It's neat. What you were
Yeah.
mentioning before, Bram, with the big names, you mentioned the monsters and shutting off the rampages, but I love the flexibility of it. The tyrant's ability, because you pick it in the deployment phase. So let's say you're bringing the tyrant and there's no monsters in your enemy's list, you could then pick cavalry that then can't retreat, or you could pick infantry. And it's neat because health characteristics of 1 or 2 cannot contest objectives while they're in combat with the tyrant. So let's say you got a big block of zombies or clan rats or something, you shut it off. It's pretty rad, but it's a little dangerous getting your tyrants in there rubbing elbows with those likes. But yeah, it's neat, it's flexible, and that's fun.
Yeah, I think my biggest gripe with the Tyrant is that I don't think he has a 3-up save. Yeah, he's a 4-up save. So yeah, if he was a 3-up, I would feel a little better about getting him in there, because then you could get him with the Iron Guts and he'd be in a 3-up, 5-up, which makes him a lot more survivable, especially if he's healing and he can ignore rend. But since he's a 4-up,
He has no ward.
yeah, he's no ward. But he could have, if he's with the Iron Guts, that give infantry heroes 5-up wards.
Oh, infantry. Oh, Iron Guts. Yeah. Sorry,
No, you're good.
I've kind of written off Iron Guts. I haven't really.
Yeah, they're overcosted. Yeah. They don't do much right now. But if the Tyrant was a 3-up save, I think Iron Guts might have play.
Yeah.
But I unfortunately I don't think they're quite good. So
But getting to it, Grell. Oh man, this lovely lady. She is 150 points for, again, it's a unique hero, infantry hero, and she's got 8 health with the 4-up save. Control 3, move 6, which most of the army moves 6. Even red, surprisingly, moves 6. That was a neat little thing that I was not expecting for a base that big. But she's got a shooting attack, 12 inches. It's D3 plus 2 attacks. Hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, Ren 2, damage 2. She has a melee attack with crit mortals. It's okay. It's 4 attacks, 4s, 2s, Ren 2, damage 2. But what I really like her for is her abilities. In any shooting phase, you pick a visible enemy within 6 inches of her, and for the rest of the phase, all of the attacks that she uses are D6 plus 2 instead of D3 plus 2 for her shooting attacks, which that's more attacks, more better. It's a little danger close getting 6 inches to something that you're shooting, especially when you don't have shoots in combat, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's neat. It's not necessary, but in your shooting phase, though, you pick a Mawtribes unit in combat with an enemy unit that had any damage allocated by Grell's shooting attack, and that target can immediately retreat as if it were your movement phase and can still use charge abilities later. No mortals are taken by doing a retreat. And I think this is super cool in case there's any Vengo lords out there just tying up your stuff for whatever reason. You could then in the shooting phase just say, all right, my unit of cleavers there that gets tied up with this random Vengo lord or whatever he brings into combat, you get to retreat and then still charge. So we could get into something else. It doesn't necessarily have to stay in there, and I like it a lot. I like that. Dave, how do you feel about that?
I think that sounds great.
Yeah.
100% behind that. Have you
Yeah.
found, I don't, you said you get a few games. Have you found that you're using it often and it comes into play very much? Or, because, yeah, if you get tied into a combat you don't like, you probably want to go. But I imagine most of your units are hammers. And so I don't imagine there's a lot of prolonged fights that you end up getting stuck in that you either don't want to be there or it's not favorable for you.
I used it with the Mauler Beast, which is neat that it doesn't say infantry only. It's just Ogor Mawtribes, so you could use it with heroes, you could use it with cavalry, you could use it with war machines. There's no restriction on that aside from just an ogre unit. And I used it with the Mauler Beast to get it out of a combat and go beeline straight for a more juicy target. And it was neat. Retreat, move, then charge. You get the charge ability from them. It's just neat little sneaky tech to go and delete shit. I made a mistake once with using it with the Gluttons. So Gluttons have the ability to where if they're in combat and or I think it's just in general, if they haven't charged, they get a +1 to their saves. And made that mistake, found out oh, wait, this is maybe a nombo. You don't want to be doing that with your Gluttons, but your smaller hammers of the cleavers, being able to get them out. And I definitely see the utility, but wait, there's more.
Oh.
Yes, she ain't done. She came for feasting. She gonna feast a little. Once per turn, army. When your opponent uses a command for a visible unit within 6 of this unit, you can allocate. Well, you must allocate D3 damage. So you allocate the D3 damage to your ogre unit within 3 of Grell. Then that command has no effect, and it still counts as having been used. It's a weird little thing where the command point spent gets refunded to your opponent, but it's still, I like it for having that option of your opponent wanted to all out defense your unit of cleavers and you really want to blow them up because you don't have the crit mortals, you only have the crit 2 hits or something like that. And it's neat. An opponent wants to retreat, you shut it down. I see the value. So there's a lot attached to this war scroll that I'm keen on, and I keep wanting to make it work. My list right now I'm running does not have her, just as I'm trying to figure out my matchups a little bit more. But it's definitely a pet unit that I'm going to be sliding into as many lists as I can come more games and more experience with the army.
The main use case I see for Grell is if Manfred Soulblight is in your meta.
Oh, good.
which we know Dave loves to play. So if I'm playing against
I
Dave,
love that more armies are getting ways around it too.
if I'm playing against Dave, I would need to bring Grell.
Feels really nice.
If I'm into a Soulblight matchup where that's possible and I can get tagged in the movement phase, it's worth it for Maulbeast. But in general, I'd say Ogres actually kind of just want to be in combat because they get to do the fighting.
Mhm.
They get to be, and they don't really get charge bonus like the Cav does, but it's minimal. You're already like damage 3 attacks most of the time, or damage 2 on the companion piece. So yeah, and like the same with cleavers, like their base damage 3, they don't get anything better from charging. So it's honestly sometimes better to not be charging because then you can take cover, which -1 to hit, which is nice when you have bad saves and things like that. So I don't know how up I am on Grill. I'm definitely not up on Grill as much as you are, but I understand the tech into certain matchups where you can get out of a bad situation where you get tagged and you don't want to be.
I like fun lists, and Grell makes a fun list.
Yes. Absolutely.
You guys are mentioning matchups, but what do you think are some good and bad matchups for the army? And of course, it depends on a list, but just kind of army wide, like you can get some wards in there. So not that crit mortals are ever good for people, but it sounds like armies that bring mortals are going to be dangerous. What are some things you think it might struggle into?
Yeah, I think my initial reaction goes to Trixie armies. Ogres is still fairly straightforward.
It is destruction.
It is destruction. And they gave you more tech. So like you have way more tools than you used to have in Ogres. But if you're going into Skaven, if you're going into Zeech, if you're going into Lumineth to an extent with speed, things that can kind of move around you and not engage you, I think are going to be strong. However, that being said, you now have better anti-sheet abilities than you had before, and you can actually take that shooting better because now you have the rend and the big wound pool. So unless they have big hammers that can do big damage to big dense wounds, they're gonna have a hard time picking you up. I think slaves is actually pretty good in Ogres because they have, Vanguard are still gonna wipe a unit, and as soon as you lose a unit, ouch for Ogres because you don't have very many of them. So yeah, I think big damage like Doc as an example, I think will be a hard one for Ogres to play into. There's a lot of movement tech. They're faster than you, and they hit really, really hard.
Yeah.
And they don't really care about your bad saves and things because, they're rend 1, but their crit mortals go straight through on the snakes, and they're damage 3, so they can do crazy damage even in your gluttons. And they also just get hit, like better to hit, better to wound. So they're just hitting into you better. And then they can debuff you. Like if you go into Marathi with gluttons, right? She can make you -1 to hit, -1 to wound. And if you're on 5s and 3s,
Yeah.
you're not gonna hit a lot. So I think armies like that will be tough. I will say on the flip side, I think armies like Nurgle are gonna have an absolute nightmare against this list, especially if you're bringing your D3 heal, because you just go in and you grind and you actually kill stuff, and you're just healing off disease every turn. So you don't mind standing there and just dealing damage to Nurgle, who doesn't do that much damage back to you, and it's just gonna be so many wounds for them to chew through. Now, granted, if they bring Rudicus, you're gonna feel bad because they can't heal, but otherwise, you feel okay.
I think we have a lot of tech in our army that could hedge out different matchups. That we may have bad matchups, but our little things like if you build your list right, then I think you're flexible enough to where it's not just an auto lose. I think you could fight your way out of a lot, and especially with like. Yeah, we don't have awesome artifacts and enhancements and all that, but we do have some that are like kind of auto takes with leave not a morsel for the no healing, no recurring models, shutting that off for armies like Skaven that you mentioned, bringing back clan rest. You can't bring back slain models. Then even Nurgle, they can't heal if you have this and you're just within 6 of that unit. It's solid little tech pieces. And yeah, I like in my game with Lumineth, I thought that I would be just pelted to death with all the shooting. And we took it, moved on, and just deleted a unit, moved on to the next one, deleted a unit, moved on to the next one. Then we had stuff that like got so much value from the healing. Like the Gorgers, they have 5 health apiece. 5 health apiece that you heal D3 on your turn, you heal D3 in the hero phase, you're back to full health, a full 5 health. And holy moly, it was wild. It was great. And then just like one champion standing there punching into these horses constantly, like picked up 2 or 3 at a time every time. And then end of turn being able to then fight again with it to whittle them down more. Like things just started getting picked up, and there's stuff we can do to sure up our slow movements. The run in charge, the red spell to move them. Like, yeah, I still failed like 3 5-inch charges, but I wasn't super punished for it. It worked out in the end, and yeah, I thought that would have been just a nightmare matchup.
Yeah, surprisingly, Lumineth is actually not as bad of a matchup for Ogres because they just don't have the damage. Like
Right.
Lumineth is a scalpel piece, and Ogres have so many wounds. They're just gonna have a hard time killing a unit.
And I realized then it was like, okay, it's Rend 1 shooting, sometimes Rend 0 shooting. You put that eat them alive and you put the minus to Rend. It's for everything. It's not just combat attacks, it's shooting attacks as well. So if they do get the Rend in the shooting, you're just back to your base save. And holy moly, it felt really good. It felt really good. And I mean that, of course, it's the brand new shiny, but also just for the experience. So we can just figure this out a little bit better and really get down to it. But yeah.
I was gonna say I actually think Ogres also plays pretty all right into cities, which I know a lot of people are like concerned about, like cities and Slanesh because they're both broken books. I realize that I am part of the problem, but I do think Ogres actually has tech into cities, especially with the Maul Beast cavalry. The do not count as charged is so strong into cities where Cavaliers always charge. And so turning that off, neutering their damage, it's the same way that Slanesh is good into cities. They turn off weapon abilities. If you're just not letting them charge, they can't get their extra damage. They can't do all that stuff. They can't power through on Ogre stuff anyway. So they're constantly like to reposition in for order up. So I think Ogres has good matchups into cities. Now, granted, I still think it's a tough fight, especially if you're not bringing Maul Beasts. Like you kind of still have to deal with Cavaliers, and they can do a lot of damage. But if you do, I think there are like to your point, Tobin, there are some tools. Having flat damage on the profile is really strong for Ogres, especially with more and more books shutting off weapon abilities, shutting off charge damage. Having that not like built in as a weapon ability, it just being on the profile is actually extremely valuable. I think about the most with Slanesh and Cleavers. Like when I played in Slanesh with them, it was just damage 3, Rend 2. Nothing funny, nothing different about it, right?
Yeah.
And that was nice, just having that solid, consistent damage. So I think there are a lot of the strong books right now might have a hard time going into Ogres.
Do you see that there are auto includes with the armies, or do you think that it's dynamic enough and that there's not necessarily things that you have to put in there, or the things that are just so good that leaving them out, you think you're shooting yourself in the foot?
Yeah. The piece that's most auto include for me, because I think to Tobin's point earlier, there is so many ways you could build Ogres. You could go extremely cav heavy, and that would be a viable build. You could go all Maw Seekers, that would be a viable build. Like you could do all gluttons if you wanted, and that would probably be okay. I think the unit that I think you'll see across most lists, at least one of, is reinforced gluttons. I think that's probably the most auto include.
Yeah, just basic ogre dude.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and just like a lot of wounds, and just in by being there presents a problem for your opponent to deal with. I think them and the hunters with the saber fangs are probably the most like staple auto include unit that you will probably see. And the reason for that, and we're going to talk primarily right now based off of our seasonal rules for this GHB. The reason for that is because they are the most efficient units at their point values. And the hunters, as an example, open up tactics for you. And that's the reason that most of my lists include a blood pelt hunter and the hunter with saber fangs. And it's like a 300 and what 390 point
290.
or like 290 point package. So yeah, 290 like yeah, 290 point package, but it essentially allows you to score siege 1 pretty much every game at the start of your turn, and then opens up burning for vengeance, which I think are the two best tactics that you want to be going with. And blazing as well. Blazing is a great option as well for ogres, but I think being a little slower sometimes blazing can be harder. I would say like burning for vengeance and siege are the two that I've been playing with ogres that have just felt very, very good. Granted, burning for vengeance, the hardest part is getting the holy table quarters outside of 9 of the middle, which you can do with the blood pelt and hunters. And if you have a unit like the Gorger Maw Pack as well, you drop them in on the other side of the table quarter, and then you're good to go. And then you just score turn 1, and then from there on, you're feasting and you're having a good time because everything else becomes part of your game plan that you want to be doing anyway. So I think those, for those reasons, like a blood pelt hunter, hunters with saber fangs, and Gorger Maw Pack have been auto includes in all my lists.
Same.
You could probably sub out the Gorger Maw Pack, but you feel the difference when you have like another unit of hunters or something like that. It's a more limited deep strike. So just having the free reign deep strike that you can be flexible and positional makes them feel like an auto include for these tactics this season.
I agree. Yeah, I love the gluttons, the Gorger Mall Pack. At first, I threw them in a list because they're a pet unit again. I love my fun little pet units. I love the sculpt. It's still one of the newer old sculpts. And then saw that the War Scroll also slaps. Them being able to go into Deep Strike, then just drop out anti-infantry, just a whole boatload of anti-infantry attacks, damage 2, 5 health. They have an innate 6-up ward, so you don't really care about keeping them near a butcher or red for giving out the ward. So they could go out, be the little scalpel, score, like Bram said, the siege, score the burning. Great versatility with it. I also really like the gut seers. They're a little less of a auto include, but I like them for buffing up any casting because we already have very limited amount of casting. As mentioned very early, all of our priests are tied to the Stonehorns or the Beast Claw side of things with those heroes, and we don't have that artifact or enhancement anymore that you could put on to give priest one. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a bummer, but being able to better your casting is always something I'm a fan of. We just being able to get off that +1 to hit. You feel a little less destruction-y hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s.
Feels good.
Then combine that with the Leave Not a Morsel to where you can't have your stats reduced on a unit of no minus to hit, no minus to wound. It's fun, it's sweet, but it's very difficult building lists because all of your stuff is so expensive and there's so many reasons that you could give for bringing to certain things. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I've been perma tinkering with lists ever since we got all the points and found out what things do since the War Scrolls were leaked, and it's been a hoot. Like I was standing there in line for ice cream yesterday and like, so I do want to get a unit of Maul Beast in this list. What can I drop? Getting more games in and getting the feel for stuff. And I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked on that.
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting point too around list building in ogres, and I think that has been maybe an area that's been a little more annoying with ogres than I've had with other armies. Like,
Yeah.
I think partially I mean, obviously it's so elite, so things are just hard to fit. But I think the pointing of some of these models just makes them feel like they have less of a role. And mainly I'm talking about things like Gutsiers and Iron Guts, right? Where it's like they're also 200 points, same as your Gluttons, but you're really not going to pick them over reinforced Gluttons a lot of the time. Like, I think they could stand to drop a few points. I think Maul Beast Cavalry could probably stand to drop 10, 20 points, like 280 for 14 wounds on a 3-up is like fine, but they will die, and then it feels really bad because it's 280 point unit. So I'm just
I don't know if I trust you on that assessment. You just don't want to see them at the RTT. You're trying to convince me to not bring them to the RTT.
yeah, that's fair. That's true. Yeah, I'm trying. No, I'm trying. I know. I'm planting seeds. No, I just think like when you look at efficiency on units, right? Like you look at Gluttons versus the Maul Beast Cav, like you're just getting way more out of Gluttons than you are the Cav. Yes, you're a little faster. Yes, you might potentially be more tanky with a 3-up save, but it's just like you're overpaying for what you're getting out of them. Granted, their rules are cool and they're cool models, so I'll probably still try them. But I think there are some points adjustments that can be done to make the Ogres book and list building feel more cohesive. I feel like right now it's kind of you kind of just take the good stuff and you wouldn't want to swap around and try other things.
So for me, it's confusing as to why the Maul Pit is 0 costed, but the Maul Pot, which is going to Legends, is 20 points and just worse. So I don't know. I was not too familiar with the difference in rules in the index between the two faction pieces or the two terrain pieces, but the Maul Pit, it's got 12 health with a 4-up save and a 6-up ward. The craziest thing for me is that it has combat attacks that have crit mortals. You got 2d6 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 1, damage 1. That's hilarious. I love it. That's got
like a horrible monster in a pit.
it's got so much flavor. I love it. I love it. But things that don't really matter, you could put a butcher on it so it can be garrisoned with a butcher. If you do that, it extends the end of turn range, which what I'm talking about with that is you pick the Maul Pit itself to be a sinkhole. Then you could pick another terrain feature within 12 inches of it. And on the cards themselves, it says you pick a terrain feature that you have not already picked to be a sinkhole. So what we saw in the book, the spoilers with the book, it's missing that very important not. So that's where people get a little confused or unsure because it's missing a very important word of knots.
Yeah.
But like I said, on the card it says it. So you pick a terrain feature that you have not already picked to be a sinkhole, and it is a sinkhole for the rest of the turn. And you use this ability at the end of the turn. But then you pick every enemy unit within 3 inches of the sinkholes to be targets. And there's a little bracket in the S to where since the Maul Pit is always a sinkhole, you're good. That's 1. Then it's you can for picking a terrain piece. So that's where it's the sinkhole with the brackets of S, because you don't need to pick a terrain piece. The earlier on, if there's nothing within 3 of a terrain piece, or even if it's a unit that you don't really care to get the mortals on, you don't have to pick it, because then you're no longer able to pick it for the rest of the battle. You roll a d3 for each target within 3. And on a 2-up, inflict an amount of damage on the target equal to the roll. So it's bad d3 mortals. From the second battle onwards, this is where your range gets bigger. You add 3 inches to the 12 inches. So round 2 is 15 inches. Round 3, 18. With the Butcher, instead of increasing it by 3, you increase it by 6 if he's garrisoning the terrain piece. So it is then one of the very few terrain pieces that can still be charged, but yeah, it's neat. It's neat little end of turn extra mortals, and I think it's pretty good. It's not bad.
Well, thank you for explaining that because I was people that was dumb and didn't understand it. So appreciate
That's all.
you outlining that so clearly.
Yeah, I mean, I also played it wrong once to where just did a quick read and thought that everything that had been picked as a sinkhole gets to burst out the D3 damage. And I was like, oh, why would you not use this and bring this every single time of just every end of turn, something else is becoming a mini gnaw hole and like your half of the board becomes danger zone, you know? But
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, no, it's just the one terrain feature and the maw pit itself that get to burst out the mortals, and it's neat. It's neat. I like that it has attacks. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's very Sarlacc pit of it to have it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, now that all the unimportant things are done, I believe that Bram, the stage is yours for a tier list.
Oh man, my favorite. So, as a reminder, if you recall, my tier lists are wholly my opinion and therefore 100% correct all the time. No arguing
Right.
or discussion to be had. No, this is purely just like I'll first read and like getting like 7 games or so in. So it's not like a lot of context. I might change my mind on a lot of these as I have changed my mind on a lot of these for the cities one. So as a reminder, it's S, A, B, C, and F tier because we skipped the other ones. So we'll start with S tier. I think we've touched on a lot of these already throughout the show, but I think red is S tier for me. I think you want to include them in most lists. Gluttons, I would also say, are S tier. They are so efficient for their points. Gorger Mawpack, I would say, is S tier. The deep strike for positioning and with all these secondary tactics requiring kind of something that can get out early is super strong, and they are super wounds dense, and they hit like a truck. So if you can just fish for the 9-inch charge after the deep strike, great. But even if you don't get it, they're still there doing something for you, which is awesome. So really like the Gorger Mawpack and the Hunters with Saber Fangs. Again, tactics scoring, they're cheap, they're efficient for their points, decent shooting, especially into monsters. So I really like them. That's my S tier.
Did Cleavers make it to S tier or are they A?
They are A tier for me. So going to A tier, I have the Blood Pelt Hunter, Kragnos, and Cleavers. I put Kragnos in there because Kragnos 3d6 charge enables ogres so much. Like, if you can just full yeet up the board and, with an average of 9 on a 3d6 charge, and you're moving 6, it just makes your threat range just so much better. In essence, it does a lot of what red does, except it does it with all your army instead of one unit. Red's threat range is more like one unit targeted can go further, probably, but Kragnos just projects that aura of I'm going to get in your face, which is what you want to be doing with ogres. So I think he's going to be pretty good. I think you'll have a lot of lists that experiment with him if they can fit him from a points perspective. I could honestly see like a Kragnos, Morga, and just like a couple Maulbeast Cav lists that just goes burning and blazing and just goes super in someone's face. Like I can see that. It might be good. I don't know. Might be good, might be trash. I have no idea.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
But it could be fun either way.
Yeah.
I think the Blood Pelt is great, and then the Cleavers. The Cleavers are great. I think they're 440. They are a little expensive. They are a little bit of your glass hammer in the ogres list if there is a glass hammer. The issue I have with the Cleavers is that they're doing the same kind of output that Iron Guts did pre-new book, but they don't have to fight twice. Yeah. So it's just like it's like same role, little less good. It's fine. I think they're great. I mean, the games I've used them, their output has been insane. So they still do what they need to for the most part, but not quite at S tier for me, just because of there's a few drawbacks. Better when you bring red, obviously. If you don't bring red, I feel like you wouldn't want to bring Cleavers. B tier, I think there's a lot that sits in B tier. I think the Butcher is a B tier choice. I think if you're not bringing red, right, Butcher is good, and so then you bring a Butcher instead. I think you need a Wizard. I think Grell is meta dependent. If you're playing into a lot of Soul Blight that can tag you, you probably want Grell. I think Morga is B tier. Morga's overcosted at 430. The ability is at best. The Eat 'em Alive is cool, but you would want that really with red if you could target other heroes to like feed Morga, and then she could have multiple things stack, and that would be better than her having to go fight and get it because she's probably not getting in until 1 or 2, turn 2 probably. So I don't know. I think Morga's like fine. Obviously, great damage piece, but out of a lot of these heroes, you want more than just a damage beat stick because your army already is a damage beat stick. The Slaughtermaster off the Legends, I think, has some interesting play. If off the Legends battle scroll, it gives you the 5-up ward or the +1 attack if it's Cauldron is full and you can spend it. Ogres lost +1 attack with the new book. They had it in the old one, and so that one is really, really good when you're hitting on 4s and when you're having like say Gluttons. Now they're 5 attacks apiece. That's pretty nasty when they're damaged too. So could be interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's only 150 points or 160 points, and it's a Wizard. So could also kind of replace the Butcher role. I think if you're 1-for-1ing between the two, I think the Slaughtermaster I like a little more. I have the Tyrant on here, both versions, the Tyrant on Gluthorn and the regular Tyrant. I think they're both like very solid B tier units. Like they can hit hard, they're fine. They let you take your artifact and your heroic trait, which is good. Bring some tech, open up some tactics. Yeah, like solid little heroes. Like not really doing anything crazy, but also not doing anything bad. So very much there for B tier, in my opinion. I have Gutseers at B tier. I think they're good when you bring red. If you don't bring red, they're not that good. I think they're a little overpriced. 200 points for them is a little overpriced, but the +1 to cast is very valuable. And I think it's also -1 for opponents casting as well. So
it is.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean that is interesting and valuable. I just think it's a little too expensive at 200 for 3. But I used them, I enjoyed them, and they're good. So no real complaints outside of that. And again, they're damage 3. So if they do hit something, they might hit it hard. You never know. The Iron Guts I have at B tier, arguably could be C tier. They're good, good damage profile, but again, just overcosted for your infantry ward ability of a 5-up. It's like fine. You don't really want to bring a lot of infantry heroes. The Tyrant and the Butcher be the ones who benefit the most from it, but then you have to keep your Iron Guts babysitting them, and then that's a lot of points concentrated in a little area, and it restricts mobility, and then you have to be like make sure your charges and keeping within 3 inches and things like that. So it just makes things a little harder than just having like the Butcher say, hey, you have a 5-up ward now, go do your thing, or if red just like you're wholly within 12. So Iron Guts are fine. I'll probably just proxy them as cleavers probably in most of my lists. The Man-Eaters off the Legends seem fine. They seem kind of interesting. They have like the Reclusian ability. It's like a 4-up ignore a non-core ability, and they're the same
Pretty slick
profile as Gluttons. Yeah, so it's like 4 attacks, still 4s, 2s, red 1, 2 damage, 4 wounds apiece. They're 5-up save. They don't get to the 4-up save, but kind of interesting. Could be good to ignore some abilities. I think Gluttons are probably better, but yeah, if you don't want to play Gluttons, this is an option. I think this one's okay. The Maulbeast Cav, I think, are B tier. We talked a lot about this earlier. I just think they're not quite efficient enough at their points. I think they could stand to be 260, and I think they'd be good. 280 is a little expensive, and then partially it's because list building with them at 280 makes them very hard to fit into lists. My also thought is you probably don't want to do reinforced, just because if they get tagged into it's 560 points. If they get tagged into something that's not meaningful, or you're having to overcommit into one fight versus and you don't have very many units anyway. So if a quarter of your army is fighting one unit in a turn, even if you blow up that unit for sure, is that good of a turn? I don't know. The Iron Blaster and Scrap Launcher are B tier. I think they're good. The Iron Blaster is a lot worse without the soggy version. Scrap Launcher has some interesting tech that I think could be fun to play around with. So I think these guys are great flavor picks and still viable. I think that's where I have everything for B tier.
B tier was loaded, and I think I think that the Maulbeast Raiders could be moved up.
Yeah, I have them in the C tier.
Yeah, I had a
So
feeling. I hadn't heard them, and I was like, ah.
yeah. I honestly I put like pretty much all the Beast Claw stuff for the most part in the C tier.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not like quite good enough for the points cost for a lot of these things. You know, the Frost Lords are 4-up saves. Granted, with the Ren thing now, maybe they're a little more survivable if they're ignoring the damage point each phase. But a lot of the time, like something's going to focus into them in the combat phase, and so you've ignored one dip of damage, and like okay, that was it. No ward on them built in either, so they just aren't super survivable. The sweaty versions, which is the new Scourge of Akshi versions, are like fine. I think the Thunder Tusk Huskard on Thunder Tusk one is kind of interesting with the charge ability, where you can like charge even if you're already in combat. It's like Cavaliers, except it's only in your charge phase. So I think if you could do that in both turns, oh baby, I'd be playing that in every list. But and that would be S tier. But unfortunately, since it's just your charge phase, it's bad in my opinion. So yeah, I have most of them here, and the Maulbeast Raiders. Just to touch on those more specifically, I think they're just, in my opinion, and again, this is all my opinion. I think in AOS you want to have things that do unit roles that are very specific and do those things well. I find oftentimes that like middle of the pack units that can kind of do a bit of everything but not do anything well tend to lack impact in games. So like if I have, for example, Maulbeast Raiders that like have like fine shooting and like fine combat and like fine mobility tricks, not good mobility tricks, like fine mobility tricks, right? Because it's like outside of 9 in order to do the thing, or outside of 6 in order to do the thing. I think it's outside of 9, but
it's outside of 9. You move D6.
Yeah, it's like it's not like the Reapers from OBR, where it's like, oh, I can just get out of side 6 and I can do that in a faction that lets me auto redeploy 4, so I'm guaranteeing I'm getting it. Right. It's like kind of like a mid tier ability.
And even the Gitmob stuff, doesn't have the range restriction either. It's still the same amount of move of D6, but it doesn't have that 9-inch stipulation. So I don't know. I think more stuff could probably be moved up to A, which then would allow more stuff to be moved up to C, but or up to B. Like I like Blood Pelts at A. I like Craggy and Cleavers at A. I think Butcher should be at A. Tyrant on Gluthorn I like more than Morga. So I think he would be,
I could see an argument there,
a little higher, or her a little lower. Again, just for that, like you have a hero, a non-unique hero then, and you could put the enhancements on him and really
I totally see that. I totally see your argument there for sure. Yeah, I think Tyrant on Gluthorn and Butcher absolutely could be A tier. I think the Butcher, my issue is his power level thing is like kind of gimmicky. So you're paying 170 for him and probably not getting the full value on his points, but
yeah, but it's fun though.
I agree.
It's fun though. And speaking of fun though, I think we could move, or I think I would move in my tier list the Huskards up
to B tier,
because that's your only access to prayers. And I mean, I don't think they're awful. So C tier being the second lowest. I don't know about them being second lowest tier. I think they would, in mind, get bumped up to B, with a few other things being bumped up from B to A. I'm a fan of the prayer lore more than anything else, and that really brings them up for me. Plus, again, I like the big fun things. It's sure it's not the most competitive, but oh man, it is fun. It's fun.
No, I totally feel you. And yes, the prayer lore is very good. I think for me, the main thing is the opportunity cost of what you're dropping for bringing these guys instead. And I feel like you lose a lot when you bring, these 250 plus monsters that can die very quickly if you go into a Stormcast matchup, or if you go into cities or anything that has shooting. Like they could pick one of these up pretty comfortably in the turn, and then you've kind of put a lot of points into them. So I think there's something to that. Like not having the 3 up like the Tyrant on Gluthorn makes them a lot less survivable to shooting. So I could see them being B tier. I would still argue lower end of B tier. I think the sweaty Huskard has potential to be quite good with the reduction of the Fury dice and the charge ability. I think if they make that both turns, that would be awesome. And then I would absolutely have that thing in S tier, which would be cool. And then they could up its points. I think that would be appropriate, but it would be an awesome tech piece that Ogres otherwise don't have in the book. But that's also because I play cities and I like broken mechanics. So but yeah, I think that's most of what we care about. The F tier, I have like the Fire Belly, the Icebrow Hunter, the Yetis, and the Lead Belchers. Lead Belchers are still just bad.
Is the Fire Belly really that bad?
It doesn't do much for you. It's like, I guess at the end of the day, it's like a cheap hero. So if you wanted to, you could bring it for that. But I think it's the worst out of all your cheap hero options. So
it's a cheap hero, but also a wizard one. I do think that it being on a 5-up, it not being, what is it, the Maw Seekers? Which I think it's weird that it's not or what is it? Is that what it is? The Maw Seekers?
The Maw Seekers is like the wizard stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it lacking that keyword? Like, I feel like that's a bit of a blunder. Like what they had with, what was it, cities, where
the cities, where none of them had the keywords. Yeah.
So I think that's a bit unfortunate because, being able to have that packaged with red, give it a ward, move it up, but 7 health, it's not terrible. Shoots in combat, it's cute, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it would be F tier because it has that one little extra thing of being a wizard one, but unfortunately,
I more so you wouldn't choose it over anything else on this list, right?
True,
like everything else on this list is objectively just better than this option. So if I'm looking for a foot wizard,
Fire Belly at 150, Butcher for 170, I'll pay that extra 20 for the Butcher.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, that's my list again.
Well, awesome, man. Yeah, I look forward to seeing how this fleshes out and how this book stands up to new tactics and people getting used to it. I imagine we're still in the learning curve phase of all of it right now.
Yeah, I think as a like a quick bonus, I really think the Regiment for Renown is interesting. You're getting the Gluthorn and the Maulbeast Cav at a discount in the Regiment of Renown, about an 80-point discount. So I think
gets removed from them for that.
I mean, you just don't have the battle trait
ability
for Ogres, and you can't put artifacts on the Gluthorn. So it's like probably around 80 points difference, but it's actually pretty good. I think I've been using it a few games with my cities stuff because it's nice into an anti-cities tech. If you're curious into that, just having the Maulbeast turned off charge is nice. And the Gluthorn is a smacking piece. It also has the reroll the lowest dice tech and brings in strike class optionality if it charges. So yeah, I like the Gluthorn. Unfortunately, it can just whiff and it can just die. So as all big monsters are, they are liable to do that. So unfortunately, I can't say it's like the best of the best, but it is a fun thing to try. The deep strike ability in the Regiment of Renown is like whatever, but it is a cool Regiment of Renown.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to join us and educate the masses about Ogres and what we have to look forward to. Once again, we'll have to have you back around for a shorter episode to update us on your feelings about cities. Now that you've had months to make the community loathe them and to figure out what does and doesn't work. So yeah, we'll have to have you back on soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
It's been great to have someone in the club, in our sports club, to bounce these ideas and thoughts off with, and very excited to have a feast with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us again, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bork, bork. Bye-bye. Ta-ta.
Reavercast.